Chapter 1. The storm inside Akira. The city spread beneath Akira like a living machine, cold, metallic, endlessly grinding forward. From the tall window of his office, he looked down at the crowded streets, watching them twist like tangled currents of a river that never stopped flowing. Towers loomed over the people below, their shadows stretching long and heavy, as if even the buildings participated in the silent pressure weighing on everyone who walked beneath them. Akira sat at his desk, the faint hum of fluorescent lights overhead blending with the constant buzz of his thoughts. The screen in front of him displayed yet another unfinished report. Numbers blurring together, deadlines flashing like warnings. His hands trembled as he held a pen, its weight suddenly unbearable. Anxiety had become so normal for him that he barely recognized life without it. Every day felt like a battlefield, not the kind fought with swords and armor, but with expectations, deadlines, responsibilities, and the fear of falling short. Each task added another stone to the pile already crushing his chest. The more he tried to keep up, the more behind he felt. His mind refused to quiet, always jumping, always worrying, always running ahead of him. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, comment, and share, so I can keep bringing you great content. Inside him, a storm never stopped raging. That evening, after yet another day that had drained the color from his spirit, Akira found himself scrolling through old notes on his phone, saved quotes, pictures, articles, anything that could give him a moment of clarity. Among them was a message he had saved long ago, something someone once told him. Find Master Tetsu, the man untouched by chaos. Tetsu, a name spoken like a myth in certain circles. A Zen master many claimed had reached a level of stillness modern men feared. Some said he lived in a mountain temple, hidden in old forests. Others whispered that he could silence a man's storm with a single sentence. Akira didn't know why he believed it. Maybe desperation forces people to seek the unbelievable. But that night, when the weight pressing on him felt too much to bear, he made a decision. He would seek Zen Master Tetsu. The journey to the monastery was unlike anything Akira had experienced. Leaving the steel jungle behind, he boarded a bus that wound through old roads, then walked for hours through forests thick with fog and silence. For the first time in years, no car horns, no ringing phones, no conversations, just the soft rhythm of his own breath and the crunch of earth under his feet. When he finally reached the temple, he paused. It wasn't grand, like the temples in stories. There were no golden statues, no grand gates. Just a simple stone structure covered in moss, surrounded by towering pines swaying gently with the wind. The air here carried the deep scent of earth and rain. It felt ancient, untouched. He stepped inside. The interior was just as simple, bare walls, dim light, a few wooden benches, and at the center of the room a single cushion on which an old man sat. Tetsu's posture was perfect, straight, still, steady. But more than his posture, it was his presence that struck Akira, calm, vast, unshakable. As if the air around him obeyed his stillness. Akira hesitated, unsure of what to say or do. He stood awkwardly at the entrance, while Tetsu remained motionless, not ignoring him, but observing him quietly, deeply. Minutes stretched like hours. Akira's thoughts bounced wildly. What should I do? Should I speak? Will he reject me? Does he already know why I'm here? And then, finally, Tetsu opened his eyes. Sit, Akira. His voice was soft, yet it held the weight of mountains. Akira obeyed, though his movements were clumsy. He crossed his legs and tried to imitate Tetsu's posture, but his body protested, his mind even more so. Silence enveloped them, thick and heavy. Akira shifted, his legs aching, his thoughts screaming inside him. Tetsu did not move, not an inch. After what felt like forever, the master spoke again. The world is always moving, he said, but your mind does not have to follow it. Akira looked at him, breathing unsteady. Tetsu's eyes remained closed as he continued. A storm of life will never stop. Top. But a warrior does not fight the wind. A warrior becomes the mountain. Akira swallowed, the words carving themselves into him. This is the first lesson. Tetsu said, silence is not emptiness. Silence is clarity. Akira didn't understand fully, but he felt something shift inside him. A small pause in the storm, a moment of space between his thoughts. Tetsu opened his eyes again. Close your eyes, Akira. Breathe. Akira obeyed. Akira obeyed. As he inhaled and exhaled, the world around him faded. His thoughts were still there, whispering, complaining, worrying, but something new appeared beneath them. A faint stillness. Tetsu's voice flowed through the quiet. The mind is a river. If you stand in it, you are swept away. But if you stand on the bank, you see it clearly. Akira felt his breath deepen. Your thoughts are not you, Tetsu said. They are waves. You are the still water beneath. Minutes passed in silence. For the first time in his adult life, Akira felt peace. Fragile, small, but real. And when he finally opened his eyes, the storm inside him was quieter than it had ever been. Tetsu watched him closely. And now you understand the beginning, he said. Stillness is already within you. You only needed to remember. Akira bowed his head slightly. Yes, master. I felt it, Tetsu nodded. Good. The first step has been taken. The world will not wait for you, but you do not have to chase it. Akira didn't know it yet, but his life had just shifted forever. Chapter 2. The weight that breaks most men. The forest wind pressed gently against the monastery walls, carrying the scent of damp earth and cedar. Akira stepped out of the meditation hall, his mind still echoing with the silence Tetsu had guided him through. His breathing was steady now, smoother than it had been in years. Yet inside, questions stirred like faint ripples on a pond. But peace, true peace, was still distant. He could feel it hovering somewhere beyond reach, like a bird perched on a branch he could see but not touch. Tetsu emerged behind him, silent as a shadow. His presence alone seemed to settle the air. Akira turned, bowing his head respectfully. Master, he said softly, when I was sitting with you, something changed, but the storm is still there. I don't know how to quiet it fully. Tetsu studied him for a long moment, his gaze neither soft nor harsh, just deeply, undeniably present. Akira, he said, the strength does not come from eliminating the storm. Strength comes from learning to stand in the center of it. The words fell into Akira like stones sinking into water, simple yet heavy with meaning. Tetsu motioned for him to walk. They stepped into a narrow stone path that curved around the cliffs. Birds circled overhead. Below them, the mountains stretched endlessly, rugged and ancient. You carry much weight, Tetsu began, but it is not the weight of the world. It is the weight you place on yourself. Akira frowned. Isn't it the same? The master shook his head. No. The world is what it is. Your suffering comes from what you think the world demands of you. Akira felt a sting because he knew it was every sleepless night, every anxious morning, every time his mind spun with pressures and expectations. He had been fighting battles that existed only in his head. He had been wrestling with shadows. Tetsu continued, most men crumble under pressure because they carry everything inside them. Their fears, their duties, their ambitions, their regrets. Like stones in a bag, they refuse to set down. He stopped walking, turning to Akira. You are here because the weight has become too heavy to bear alone. Akira lowered his head. Yes, and that, Tetsu said, is the first sign of awakening. Only a fool believes he can shoulder life without learning how to breathe. They resumed walking. The wind pressed stronger now, brushing through Akira's hair. The silence of the mountains wasn't empty, it was alive, breathing, watching. Tetsu gestured toward the valley below. Down there, men push, chase, force, and struggle. They burn themselves trying to control life. But the warrior does not control life. He aligns with it. Akira listened intently. The pressure you feel, Tetsu continued, is not a punishment. It is a teacher. Pressure reveals the cracks in your foundation. It shows you where you have not grown. Akira felt those words strike him deeply. For years he had believed pressure meant he was failing, that he was not good enough, that he lacked something everyone else seemed to have. But now, pressure suddenly looked different. It looked like truth. Master, Akira asked quietly, if pressure is a teacher, why does it hurt so much? Tetsu smiled faintly. Because you resisted. They walked until they reached a stone archway overlooking the valley. Tetsu sat upon a flat rock and motioned for Akira to join him. When the wind blows, Tetsu said, the weak tree fights it, and so it breaks, and so it breaks. He lifted his hand, fingers drifting gently through the air. But the bamboo bends. It moves with the wind. That is why it survives. Akira absorbed every word. You, Tetsu said, pointing a slender finger toward Akira's chest, have spent your whole life resisting the wind. Akira swallowed hard. I thought resisting made me strong. No, Tetsu replied gently. It only made you tired. A wave of emotion rose in Akira's chest. Relief, sorrow, understanding. He had exhausted himself fighting battles he never needed to fight. Tetsu looked at him with eyes that had seen decades of human struggle. Your suffering comes from believing you must carry everything alone. That is the illusion that breaks most men. Akira inhaled deeply, letting the mountain air fill his lungs. Let go, Tetsu said simply. Akira waited, expecting more, but Tetsu remained silent. "I let go of what, master?" Akira finally asked. Tetsu closed his eyes. "Of the belief that you must become something. The belief that you are not enough. It sounds simple, but in my mind, it is not simple." Tetsu nodded. "Of course, the mind complicates what the spirit already knows." Akira felt something inside him soften. Maybe for the first time, he wasn't fighting the truth. He was receiving it. Master," he whispered, "I came here hoping for a cure, but it feels like you're asking me to become a different person." Tetsu opened his eyes. "No, Akira. I am asking you to return to the person you already are." They sat in silence, in the warmth of the rising sun, as the world breathed quietly around them. After a moment, Tetsu placed a hand on Akira's shoulder. "You think strength means pushing harder, but strength, true strength, is the ability to remain still when the world tries to shake you." Akira nodded slowly. "The man who can hold his center," Tetsu said, "it cannot be broken. Not by pressure, not by fear, not by life." Akira looked out over the valley. The mountains seemed older now, older than worry, older than suffering, older than any storm life could send. And for the first time in his life, he felt something new, a space inside him, a quiet space, a space untouched by pressure. And in that space, he felt the beginnings of real strength. The kind that doesn't shout, the kind that doesn't fight, the kind that cannot be moved. Akira straightened his posture, breathing slowly. "Master," he said quietly, "I want to learn how to live from that place." Tetsu smiled. "You already are." Chapter 3. The edge of the mind. Akira walked through the temple courtyard alone, the echo of Tetsu's words still resonating in the quiet chambers of his mind. The silence around him felt different now. Not empty, but full. Different now. Not empty, but full. Full of presence. Full of something he had never experienced in the city's endless noise. But the journey of mastering stillness had only just begun. That day, Tetsu did not summon him. There were no formal lessons, no spoken guidance. Instead, the master allowed the world itself to teach Akira. Every stone, every breeze, every breath. Akira wandered along the narrow garden path just outside the meditation hall. The gravel crunched softly under his feet, each step a reminder to stay awake. Not in the physical sense, but in the deeper, inner sense Tetsu had spoken of. The sense of being aware of each moment as it unfolded. He knelt beside the small koi pond, watching the fish glide effortlessly through the water. Their movements were calm, unhurried, as if time itself bent around them. He felt a strange end. How could something so small move with such ease while he struggled to keep his mind from spiraling? He leaned closer, observing the ripples that danced across the pond's surface. A single falling leaf disturbed the water, sending waves rolling outward. The pond responded to everything, but it never fought back. It simply received, adjusted, and returned to stillness. Just as Tetsu had taught him, Akira closed his eyes, breathing slowly as the cool morning air filled his lungs. He wanted this kind of stability, not a forced, rigid calmness, but a natural, grounded presence. As he stood again, Tetsu appeared behind him, as silent as the wind. "You see the water," the master said. "It responds to everything, but itself remains unchanged. That is the second teaching." Akira turned to face him. "Master, how do I become like that?" Tetsu began walking, motioning for Akira to follow. "You do not become like the water. You remember that you already are. The mind simply forgets." They walked to a wide clearing near the forest edge. Tall pines swayed gently in the wind, their shadows long and soft. Tetsu stopped and placed a hand on Akira's shoulder. "You carry storms inside you because you believe the storm is you. But the storm is only passing weather. You must learn to separate the sky from the clouds." Akira listened closely, the metaphor landing deep within him. "Sit," Tetsu instructed. They both settled on the ground. Tetsu's posture was flawless as always. Straight spine, relaxed shoulders, hands resting effortlessly in his lap. Today, Tetsu said, "You will face your thoughts. Not by fighting them, but by observing them." Akira inhaled slowly and let his eyes close. Immediately, his mind swarmed with noise. Deadlines, expectations, fear of failure, the weight of being enough. The rush came fast, overwhelming, like a tide threatening to pull him under. His breath tightened. Tetsu spoke calmly beside him, though his voice felt distant, almost like it came from inside Akira's own awareness. "But do not fight them. Watch them." Akira tried. He really did. But the thoughts were sharp. quick. So many of them. They felt personal, emotional, heavy. I can't stop them, Akira whispered, frustration tightening his voice. Tetsu didn't open his eyes. You were still trying to control them. That is why they control you. Akira clenched his jaw. Then, what do I do? Nothing, Tetsu replied. I'll let them leave. Akira let out a shaky breath. At first, it felt impossible. His mind jumped from one worry to another, memories resurfacing, past mistakes, regrets, imagined futures that frightened him. But slowly, something subtle began to shift. He felt himself stepping back, as if his awareness moved behind his thoughts, watching them instead of drowning in them. A strange sensation washed over him. Detachment, but not numbness. Clarity, but he could feel the thoughts, but they no longer pulled him so strongly. Tetsu finally opened his eyes. There, the master murmured. You sensed it. That moment when the thought arrives, but does not control you. Akira nodded slightly, still breathing deeply. That, Tetsu said, is the edge of the mind. The place where thought and awareness meet. A warrior must learn to stand on that edge without falling. The wind rustled the branches overhead. Akira opened his eyes and looked around. Everything looked sharper, more alive, more alive. As if the world hadn't changed, but his perception had. Tetsu rose to his feet. Akira, he said, you came here seeking peace. But peace is not the goal. Peace is the result. Presence is the goal. Akira stood beside him, feeling a groundedness he had never known. "And Master," he said softly, "will the thoughts ever stop?" Tetsu smiled faintly. "No, and they do not need to. The goal is not silence in the mind. The goal is silence in you." They walked back toward the temple together. The path felt different beneath Akira's feet, as if he were not simply walking through the world, but through himself. The storm inside him was still there, but he could see it now. And seeing it gave him power, not to defeat it, but to rise above it. This was the beginning of a new kind of strength. Not force, not discipline alone, not escape, but presence. The kind of presence only a Zen warrior could carry. Chapter 4. The weight of the returning world. Akira stepped back into the city like a man awakening in a dream he once feared. The world hadn't changed. Its noise was still sharp, its pace still relentless, its pressure still unforgiving. But he had changed, and because of that, everything looked different. The moment the train doors opened, the familiar rush of bodies pressed around him. People pushed forward, eyes glued to screens, minds racing faster than their feet. The old Akira would have felt swallowed by this tide, but now he simply observed. Every sound, every movement, every voice was just a ripple. His presence was the still water beneath it. When he entered the office, the fluorescent lights hummed just as loudly as before. Papers were stacked high on his desk. Notifications blinked angrily on his screen. His supervisor's voice echoed across the floor, sharp and demanding. The storm was waiting for him. But Akira did not step into the storm. He stood at its center. He took his seat slowly, grounding himself with a single breath, just as Tetsu had taught him. His coworkers rushed around him, swallowed by panic and urgency. But Akira felt the stillness inside him hold strong, like a mountain rising from the chaos. He opened his laptop. The pressure tried to climb onto his shoulders. The old anxiety tried to return, but it could not find a place to land. Tetsu's words echoed softly in his mind. The storm will always come, but the warrior chooses where he stands. Throughout the day, Akira noticed something he had never seen before. Most people weren't stressed because of their work. They were stressed because they were reacting to their work. They weren't drowning because the water was deep. They were drowning because they kept fighting the waves. Akira moved through each task steadily, silently. No rush, no panic, no fear. His breathing guided him like an anchor. His awareness sharpened like a blade. His presence felt like armor. At one point, a coworker approached him, distressed. "Akira," the report, "it's late. Everything is falling apart." Akira simply looked at him with calm, steady eyes. "Then we fix it, one step at a time." His tone wasn't forceful. It wasn't loud. But it carried a weight and assurance that silenced the panic instantly. The coworker stared at him, confused. It was as if Akira's calmness was contagious. Together they worked through the issue. No rushing, no collapsing under the pressure. And in that moment, Akira realized something profound. Stillness was not weakness. It was influence. Calmness was not passive. It was power. Later that evening, after the office emptied, Akira stepped outside. The city lights flickered against the darkening sky. The noise of traffic filled the air, but inside him, only silence. Real silence, the silence he had fought so long to find, the silence he had discovered in the temple, the silence he now carried with him wherever he went. He closed his eyes and breathed in. The storm around him raged, but he was unmoved. The world pushed, but he remained steady. This was the true test. Holding on to the stillness he had learned. And Akira knew now that this was only the beginning. The lessons of the mountain were not meant to keep him safe from the world. They were meant to prepare him for it. As he walked home, the master's final words echoed in his heart. A presence turns pressure into power. And Akira understood what it meant to be untouchable. Chapter 5. The path beyond the temple morning light spilled gently across the peaks as Akira stood at the edge of the temple grounds, the cool air brushing against his skin. The mountains stretched endlessly before him, their silhouettes painted gold by the rising sun. For a moment, he simply breathed, allowing the stillness to settle inside him like a quiet flame. For the first time in his life, he wasn't resisting anything. He wasn't fighting deadlines, expectations, fears, or the relentless pressure he once believed defined him. He was simply present. And in that presence, he discovered a strength far deeper than effort, a strength born from acceptance. Behind him, soft footsteps approached. Tetsu stood beside him, his posture as rooted as the ancient pines. The master didn't need words. His silence had always communicated more than speech ever could. But today, the silence held something new, resolution. After a long pause, Tetsu spoke. "It is time for you to leave, Akira." The words were gentle, yet heavy with meaning. Akira turned to the old master, a flicker of hesitation passing through him. Leaving the temple meant returning to the world that had once crushed him. But it also meant carrying these teachings into the fire, to live them, not just understand them. "I'm ready," Akira said softly. Tetsu studied him, eyes warm with a pride he rarely showed. The teachings were never meant to keep you here. They were meant to prepare you. A warrior's path does not remain on the mountain. It moves through the world, through chaos, hardship, and noise. That is where presence is tested. Akira nodded. "I have learned that true mastery isn't escaping the world. It's meeting it with stillness. It's responding, not reacting." "Exactly," Tetsu replied. "The world will continue to press on you. Pressure will return. Fear will whisper. Circumstances will shift. But your strength is not in resisting any of it. Your strength is in remaining unmoved." Akira let the truth of those words settle deep within him. He had once believed strength meant control, controlling outcomes, emotions, expectation. Now he knew real strength was surrender, not weakness, but understanding. It was choosing clarity over chaos, stillness over panic, presence over fear. He turned back toward the horizon. "I will carry your teachings with me," he said. "And I will remember, the true warrior is not the one who conquers the world, but the one who has mastered himself." A faint smile softened Tetsu's stern features. "You have already become that warrior, Akira. The world may roar around you, but you will walk through it untouched. Not because you are invincible, but because you no longer need to be." Akira bowed deeply, a bow, not only of gratitude, but of transformation. The man who arrived trembling with anxiety was not the man leaving today. With quiet steps, he began descending the stone path winding down the mountain. The forest welcomed him with rustling leaves and cool breeze. The earth beneath his feet felt alive, pulsing with an energy he had never noticed before. Everything was exactly as it had always been, yet everything inside him had changed. He no longer sought to avoid life's storms. He had become the calm inside them. The world would not change, he realized. The chaos, pressure, uncertainty, they were all part of the human path, but he no longer needed them to disappear in order to be whole. As he walked, the wind moved through the trees, but he remained steady. Birds called from distant branches, but his mind stayed still. Even the thought of returning to the life he had left, the office, responsibilities, expectations, no longer stirred fear within him. He was rooted now, grounded in presence, a still mountain in the middle of shifting weather. He remembered Tetsu's final truth. A warrior who is untouchable under pressure is not untouched by life. He is simply anchored in something deeper. Akira continued down the mountain path, every step harmonious and sure. The rising sun warmed his back, casting long shadows before him. The world awaited him, not as an enemy, but as a mirror of challenges he would meet with clarity, calm, and quiet strength. For he had learned the essence of Zen. Peace isn't found, peace is lived. True strength isn't resistance. True strength is stillness. And as he walked toward the unfolding day, Akira knew the storm might come, but he would never be moved again.